Hello everyone, welcome to Semi Homesteading with Abby. Thank you all so much for tuning in to today's video. If you're new to the channel, welcome. I'm a girl from the suburbs who is aspiring to be a very good homesteader and homemaker. So this channel is basically documenting that adventure, all the skills I'm trying to learn, and it's been really fun so far. Before we get into the video, if you have not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe. And also thank you so much for the response to last week's video. I basically told you guys that I'm trying to get to 100 subscribers by the end of January, and like a bunch of you subscribed, so thank you so much. I know 100 subscribers does not seem like a lot, but the Bible does say do not despise small beginnings, and I am not. I appreciate each and every one of you that are here watching my video. Today's video may not, I guess, fall into the traditional like homesteading or homemaking categories because it's more of a craft. But I feel like it's important to be, you know, resourceful and crafty sometimes. I'm gonna include this video because I'm obsessed with what I made. So today we are making this flower box. So this is a flower box that basically commemorates your anniversary. So this is for my husband and I, the Rancors, on May 30th of 2020. My friend who basically got me into like using the Cricut machine and into crafts in general showed me how to make this, and I made this about a year ago. This is just a shadow box from Michael's. I got two of these, so one has been hanging around in my house for like a year. The flowers on the inside are just paper that the Cricut cuts into a spiral pattern, so they're all handmade paper flowers. Then you just put a vinyl cutout of the names and the words on the front of the glass. It's time consuming, but it's not complex. My sister-in-law has been asking for one of these for quite a long time, but we were in the middle of a move and things were crazy. So now that I have all my craft supplies like settled together, I know where everything is, and I have my Cricut machine, I'm gonna make this for her this weekend. Let's get into this video. The first thing I did when deciding I wanted to make this flower box was just gather the materials. You really don't need a lot of materials for this. It's pretty straightforward. What you do need is a Cricut machine, which I have the Cricut Explore Air 2, I believe, but pretty much any Cricut machine will work. So I brought all of the supplies out to my kitchen. I also needed like the Cricut mat to cut on and things like that. So I set that up, and then you just need a computer for the Cricut Design Center to get your designs from your computer into the Cricut machine. So, you know, I made the kitchen my little hub for the night of, you know, making this flower box. The kitchen was pretty much useless for the next 4 hours because of this. The other thing you need is just construction paper. So a long time ago, I had gotten a big chunk of construction paper. The pink one was for my flower box, and I decided to make this one for my sister-in-law blue. So here's me showing off all my paper colors. You know, got some dark blue, got some light blue. I also got some of this cool patterned color and more of like grayish blue. So I wasn't exactly sure which ones I would be using for the flower box, but I figured I would just kind of see how I felt about the colors as I went along. So the first thing you need to do is download the Cricut Design Space. Very easy to download. Looks like this when it comes up blank. And then I set my setting on the Cricut to cardstock because of the thick paper. Then I needed to go find the SVG flowers, which is like the Cricut Design Center type that you have to use. The Analytical Mommy, which I will link down below, has a great set of flowers that I downloaded that look like this. Sorry, the camera's a little bit shaky, but it looks like this. That is the spiral design you cut out and roll up for the flowers. Again, I'll link them down below. You basically upload them into the Design Center and add them to the canvas. I wanted to do varying sizes of flowers, so I added 4 to this one to make the smallest flowers. You can resize and add them, and once you hit make, they will all lay out on your mat as they will cut. I just loaded the mat with my paper into the Cricut, hit go, and it started to cut these great flowers. Now, if you're new to a Cricut machine completely, I'm sure I'm going way too fast, so maybe I'll make like a Cricut intro video at some point. Let me know if you would like that, because it's pretty simple, but it does, you know, take a little bit of practice. Once the flowers were cut out, I just peeled off the outside kind of layer of the flowers. It's very satisfying how they come up in this spiral pattern, and I'll show you how to actually assemble the flowers a little bit later in the video, but for right now, I just focused and took some time to cut out as many flowers as possible. So this will be a little montage of me cutting out a bunch of flowers with different colored paper. Enjoy! Once I was done with the smaller flowers, I decided to make a little bit bigger white ones. Now this paper was much thicker, so the first time, as you can see there, I could not get this very satisfying spiral after it got cut. So I needed to up my setting on the Cricut machine. I ended up going almost to the highest setting there is because this is extremely thick paper. I put it on poster board, and at that point it turned out really, really good. So make sure you have your Cricut settings to the correct weight. I then made full page flowers, so they were 12 inches by 12 inches. And once I had a decent amount of those, I decided it was time to actually assemble the flower. So the way you do this is really simple. You just take that outer spiral and twist it up into kind of a ball. You want to make sure it's a tight spiral, as tight as you can get it until the very end. Now, once you get it to the end point, there's that other little circle that will be the bottom of your flower. So you want to let the flower release the tension on it. It should puff out into this nice looking flower. And then that circle that I just showed it will be the bottom of the flower where you hot glue the entire flower. And that's kind of what keeps it together. So this is what the front will look like after you let it kind of puff out. And this is what the back will look like. And that circle again is the base that you will hot glue. So I just put a little dot of glue on that bottom circle and then kind of just push the entire flower down onto it. And I just did that for all of the big flowers first, and I'll show you why I did all the big ones first. You can kind of do this in any order, but I like to go big to small to arrange them on my board. Look at how pretty these flowers are. I just can't believe you can make this with just paper on a Cricut machine. It is so simple and so easy. So I just did this for a while with all my different size flowers. I did basically all the blue big ones and the white kind of smaller ones. And then later I put together all of the really mini ones where it was 4 to a page because those are pretty small and I use those as little filler flowers. Then it was time to take out the shadow box. So really you just need the back to start with. So I took the back off, got all the paper and stuff cleaned up, and just set the top off to the side for now. Now this is the part where your creative juices can really flow because it's up to you on how you want to do the color balancing and the arrangement of the actual flowers. But again, I like to start with the big flowers and just see how the balance of colors are looking and then use smaller flowers to kind of fill in after. So, I moved them around a little bit and I just decided that the color balance I think was a little bit off. As you can see, I did dark gray, dark blue, royal blue. So I decided I needed a pop of lighter blue, so I made some of those flowers. And then I also decided to add more of the little white flowers that I was making. So once I had kind of a general location of where these big flowers were gonna go, I hot glued them all to the board. Again, those are the anchor pieces, and then I made the smaller flowers kind of fill-ins. So at that point I went in and filled some of the gaps with some white, kind of medium-sized flowers, and it really served to just kind of brighten up the board. Look at how awesome these flowers are. Here's another important trick that I was unaware of and I should have thought about before, but if you have a piece of paper that you're making into a flower that's one-sided, make sure you're rolling towards the printed side so the print is on the inside. For some reason I had that backwards in my head at first and all I could see was a white flower and none of the patterns. So just a pro tip if you get confused about that kind of thing like I did. Once I had all of the little flowers filled in and glued on the board, I decided to put it back into the shadow box because I'm done. You can add as many or as few flowers in here as you really want, but I liked the balance and I liked the colors, so I was done. At this point, you need to go back into the Cricut Design Center and print out your words. Now you can do any font or any words that you want, but I just put, the Johnsons and then the date. Now, there's a lot of fonts that you can use on the Cricut Design Center. You can also go into Word and import fonts, and that's what I ended up doing here. Again, I can make another video about the Cricut Design Center and all of the Cricut tricks that I know, but I did not have to actually go in and use a Cricut font. I just kind of used my own. Resize them to the size that you want, and then you can just go make that on the piece of vinyl. Once the words were all printed on the vinyl, I needed to transfer those words onto the glass on the shadow box. So I took the Cricut transfer tape and I laid it down on top of the words used this little scraper tool, which is extremely handy to make sure it was very secure on the transfer tape. And then you're able to just peel it off and you have, you know, the word right on there that you then just transfer onto the box. Now, this is a terrible camera angle, but basically I'm putting it on the box and scraping it onto the glass so I can remove the transfer tape and have the words stick. Now, there was a slight emergency here because it started peeling up, so I turned off the camera and went and re-scraped and peeled it off, and the word Johnson's ended up looking okay. But I did the same thing for the and the date. And I think the hardest part of this, honestly, is just making sure everything is straight. I didn't measure anything or do like a level, so I just kind of eyeballed it. This is with the transfer tape still on, just to make sure everything is looking straight. But then once I was comfortable with it, I just scraped it onto it and just removed all of the transfer tape. You gotta be careful removing the transfer tape because it does tend to stick up sometimes. And I had a little trouble with the H at first, but I think I was able to get it to stick to the box just fine. So again, slowly peel off the tape and you should be all good. And at the end, this is the final product of the shadow box. I am so excited with how this turned out. I'm actually obsessed with the blue and I love it. All right, that is all for this week's video. Thank you all so much for being here. If you make this flower box for a gift or for yourself or whatever, make sure to let me know, tag me on Instagram at @semihomesteading. I will link my Instagram down below. And even if you don't make this flower box and you are a cricketer or a crafty person in general, let me know in the comments below your favorite craft to do, because I'm always looking for a good homemade gift or, you know, something homemade to spruce up my house. So let me know what your favorite craft is, and I will see you next week for another video. Bye everyone.